All right, today we are going to be solving literal equations. So, this concept may be super duper hard, but we're just going to get through it, and hopefully, you guys understand where we're coming from and actually how to solve and manipulate this equation to get what we want. Okay, so I'm looking at example 1, and it gives me the formula area equals length times width. Okay, and it wants us to solve for W. So as I'm looking at this original formula, it tells me how to solve for A. And how I know that is because A is by itself in the equation. Okay, so this is how the formula would go if I'm trying to find the area of like a rectangle. So what we're trying to do today is actually figure out how we're going to solve for W. So I want W on its own side of the equation. So how I do that is undoing everything that's happening to W. So we're going to draw a railroad track. Sorry, that's so thick. Okay, so I'm looking at this formula and it says A equals length times width. So if I'm trying to get W by itself, I need to figure out what I can do to undo the L, because that's the only thing that's left with the side with the W. So as I'm looking at it, I know that because L and W are right next to each other, okay, that means they're multiplying. So in order to get rid of this multiplication, I'm going to divide by L. Okay, so once I do that, yes, W is by itself, and all I'm left with on this side is A divided by W. Okay, and yes, you leave it like that because there's no numbers to actually physically divide. So without numbers, we just leave it as is. And now we know if we wanted to find the width and we were given the area and the length, all I would need to do is divide my area and my length, and it would give me the width. All right, let's do another one. All right, so I have 3y equals 5x plus 6, and I want to solve for x. Okay, so as I'm looking at this, I want to get x by itself. Okay, so there's two things happening to x. It's being multiplied by 5, and 6 is subtracting from x. So remember when we're talking about two-step equations that we must undo the addition or subtraction first. Okay, so as I'm looking at this, I'm looking for addition or subtraction. Well, I see this subtraction sign here, so I'm going to get rid of this -6 or subtracting of 6. So in order to undo it, because I'm moving it to the left side of the equation, I'm going to have to add 6. Now, as I'm looking at this, I cannot physically add 3y plus 6 because they're not the same variable. They're not the same term. They're not alike. Okay, so what I'm left with is 3y plus 6 equals 5x. So now I'm still asking myself, what is happening to x? Because whatever's happening to x, I need to undo it by the inverse. Okay, so right now, multiplication's happening to x. And how I undo multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 5. So in order to get the value of x, I would take 3y plus 6 divided by 5. All right, 2L plus 2W equals P, and I want to solve for L. All right, so there's two things again happening to L. It's being multiplied by 2, and 2W is adding to 2L. So again, step 1, undo the addition or subtraction. So because it's adding 2w, I'm going to subtract 2w. What I do on one side, I must do to the other, so it moves it from the left side to the right. I'm left with 2L on the left side, and I'm left with P minus 2W on the right because I cannot physically combine these or subtract these from each other because they're not the same term. As I'm looking at my new equation, I see that 2 is multiplying to L, so I must undo that by dividing by 2. Then I'm left with L equals P minus 2W divided by 2. All right, so I want you to try these next two. So this one right here is just like this one right here, is just like this one. So I want you to try this one, except what's different is you're going to solve for y now. You're getting y by itself. All right, and come back for the answer, or go to Google Classroom for the notes, answers. All right, this next one is a little different, okay? As I'm looking at this, it says volume equals length times width times height, or V equals L times W times H. And I want to solve for H, okay? So as I'm looking at this equation, I notice that it's L times W times H. So everything's being multiplied. So when everything is being multiplied, we can undo it by dividing by everything we don't need. So we don't need the L and we don't need the W. So what you do on one side, you must do to the other. So I'm left with H equals V divided by L times W. So anytime everything is multiplying, you just divide off what you don't need. All right, this one right here. This one's a little tricky. Okay, we have a multiplying of a 1/2, and then we're trying to solve for D2. What's being multiplied by D1. Okay, so when I have a fraction outside of a parentheses like this, okay, like these right here, I need to get rid of whatever's right here first. And how I get rid of this is dividing off what it is, because it's multiplying to my D1 and my D2. So I divide by 1/2. Well, whenever I divide by a fraction, guys, okay, so I have A divided by 1/2. When you have a fraction on the bottom, or really anytime you have a fraction in a division, you're going to take that 1/2 and turn it upside down. So 2/1. Okay? And then you just multiply straight across. So, for instance, if this is 2/1 and I want to multiply to A, which is the same thing as A/1, I just multiply straight across. So 2 times A is 2A, and 1 times 1 is 1. So 2A/1 is just 2A. Okay, so I got rid of this. Now I'm left with 2A equals D1 times D2. So in order to get D2 by itself, I'm going to divide by D1. So 2A divided by D1 equals D2. All right, this one right here. Again, same thing. I have parentheses. So I must get rid of what's on the outside of my parentheses first. Okay, and it's multiplying. So I must get rid of it by dividing. So A divided by H equals B plus C. And now how can I solve for B? That's right. I got to subtract off the C. So I have A divided by H minus C equals B. Okay. All right, last but not least, I want to solve for B here. Okay. So as I'm looking at B, there's only one thing that's happening to it. It's being added to MX. So in order to undo the MX, I must just take the sign in front of it, which right now it's a positive sign, and subtract it from both sides. And I know you must think, like, why am I not dividing it? Well, I have to think back to that question I was originally asking, and what is happening to B? Well, nothing's being multiplied to B. The only thing that's happening to B is it's being added to something that is multiplied, which is MX. So I can undo that or move it to the other side by just subtracting it on both sides. So Y minus MX will get us B. All right. Talk to y'all next time. Bye.